with devious dungeons, foreboding forests, and the coolest cats. My name's Phil. It's Friday morning, and I am joined with the Free League Team Symbaroum lore master, co-creator of Symbaroum, Mattias Johnsson Haake. It's time for the Dark Orb. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Very nice to join you for a real fika.
Yes, we should talk about what fika is. So I have...
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you have your Dark Orb. Oh, cool.
I have my Dark
This is
Orb
actually...
merchandise.
Yeah, this is also merch for the local hockey team. Björklöven. The birch leaves.
Birch leaves. Yes,
yeah.
we have discussed this before.
Yeah, we're hockey fans, both of us. So,
well, I don't know. The team that I was supporting don't really seem to play hockey very much. It's just sort of fall over on the ice and beat each other up. So, I mean, I guess that is hockey, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And also, I have some pastries.
Oh yeah, me too.
Which I may remember. We may be a little bit rude this morning and eat and drink because it is fika.
It is fika, and this is a bulle. Without the bulle, you can't have fika.
So we're learning Swedish this morning. So God morgon or glad påsk.
Glad påsk.
Well, good morning and happy Easter.
Anyway, do you want me to share a secret with you before we start?
Am I going to need some therapy?
Probably, yeah.
Do it. You know, I play horror games, so let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of over the top, even for a horror story. But I really don't like fika. I don't enjoy it at all.
Well, I think that's been great. Thank you everyone for tuning in this morning.
No, do you know what the thing is? You can have snacksfika.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of snacksfika? Because this is standard normal Swedish fika that you have on a coffee and a bulle. Snacksfika is you have like crisps or cheese doodles, like Cheetos kind of things. Yeah. So that's my kind of fika. But I decided today I would play along.
Play along. Well, I've been playing along with your rubbish for a couple of years now. But yeah, fika is probably one of the greatest Swedish traditions to not have made it very far outside of Sweden, which, to my understanding, is basically where you are forced to have fun with your colleagues and your friends at work and pretend that you're enjoying yourself. And somehow this has ended up with the Swedish workforce as being one of the happiest and most relaxed workforces in the world, because you're forced to enjoy each other's company once or twice a day and theoretically not work, right?
Yeah, while being sober.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Because you don't have alcohol at fika. Never.
Can I just put some rum in this? I mean, it's just.
Yeah, you can, but it wouldn't be fika. Then it would be a party, a Swedish party.
We can't have parties, not at 10 a.m. That's inappropriate. Not unless we're still partying from the night before, right?
Exactly.
So we have some people who've joined us this morning already. So good morning to Christian, to Thane, Tane. I've not spoken to you, so I'm sorry if I completely ruined your pronunciation of your name one way or the other. Krista Persson. I presume this is Matthew. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I thought it'd be good to have a relaxed chat. You know, there are a couple of really cool things going on in the world of Symbaroum. Where do we start? I mean, we could start with the great big elephant that's going to be parading across the room in a couple of weeks' time. You guys have made a really interesting decision, which we've known about for quite a while.
Yeah.
The ruins of Symbaroum.
I saw someone on our Reddit or our subreddit say
Dave.
It isn't the ruins of Symbaroum, it's the ruin of Symbaroum, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
No, there is a little bit of controversy around this decision, which is, I must admit, a little bit. I have a hard time understanding why this would be such a hot topic.
I think it's similar to it's tribalism, really, isn't it? Because we as people, I think, struggle to understand the appeal of things that don't appeal to us. And
probably.
Symbaroum,
but we should be able to grasp the concept that we do have different tastes, and honestly, to me, we have been discussing this since long before the merger. We have been discussing a 5e conversion since we saw Adventures in Middle Earth, which is kind of the spiritual or father of this, the concept that we are launching now. It is like a full-fledged adaptation with 3 core books at the beginning, and then if that is well received, which I truly hope, then more products will be adapted to the 5e.
I guess people would say that the Adventures in Middle Earth is the full-fledged, commercially and hugely successful downgrade to the incredible game The One Ring, which also is by Free League now. Which is great, and it brought so many people into that world who already love, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's work basically, but did not want to learn or just did not like the system that the guys, Francesco, etc., created for The One Ring. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad game. And it's the same with Symbaroum. There are people who just don't like the system but love the lore. And I'm not one of them. I think the system is great. I also think that the criticisms that some people have over the system for Symbaroum kind of misses the point of the game to an extent. Like, if it's not really a combat game, which I don't feel it is, then it's not really a shame that combat is quick and usually quite easily resolved. And sometimes, in the player's favor, if they're high level, it doesn't matter because it's not that fight that I care about. It's why they even chose to have it. Because if you're going to kill that person, you need to be thinking about whether that's really the sort of consequences of that are really something that you want to occur. So I think in Symbaroum, the characters can do almost anything that they want to.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the reason why there are 2 kinds of criticism, and criticism is justified always, I think. But there are 2 main discussions concerning Symbaroum. One is about the fine-tuning of the system. And we have said it before, and I'm saying it again, it is a first iteration. We have done small tweaks with every reprint, basically. But yes, there are still things to do when it comes to not balancing, because that's kind of the wrong word in this context, right? but make it into the system that we want it to be. There are still stuff to do. The other kind of criticism comes from people that actually enjoy another type of mechanic. And 5e version of Symbaroum is for them. And also another thing which maybe some people are a little bit worried about going forth. Will this affect the way we design supplements and adventures and such? And it will not. I will keep, and Mattias, Lilia, will keep building storylines and adventures for original Symbaroum. And then we have a team where Mattias Lilia is mainly the editor. I am the project lead. But there is another team that works on adapting the stories we put forth to 5e, and it's mainly a fantastic new acquaintance named Jacob Rogers,
Yeah.
He's probably asleep by now if he's watching. He didn't. And he has also worked on Adventures in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
As Christer says.
Yeah, he's the brainchild, really, of this, or a brainchild of this type of work. You know, he has a real understanding of the 5e system, but also has a pedigree of understanding fundamentally Swedish roleplay and narrative-driven roleplay, which is something that can exist in 5e and the associated and originating properties, but generally I don't think always does. So that's the challenge, and certainly when you're taking something like Symbaroum, which is a storytelling game, not just a miniatures war game with some story elements. It's important not to lose that. So I think it's probably worthwhile maybe going back to basics and just discussing what is coming in Ruins of Symbaroum. Shall I play the trailer?
Yeah,
He's
sure.
Thinking, where the hell have I put the trailer?
This is just a teaser. The real trailer will come up on launch.
Let's do it. It just looks so good, and obviously we've got the artwork there from Martin Grip. Is there some art there also from Gustav Ekelund? Or is that all Martin?
Not in those clips, no.
And that's the Iron Pact Orchestra as well, right? In the background.
Yeah.
Which is I love that music, by the way.
I will tell Kina.
Good, Kina Niemann. She's on Spotify, and she's great.
Oh yeah.
So let's discuss what the product range is. What has been converted? So you have the core rulebook, the Monster Codex. What else are we doing? Thistlehold.
Are we talking Ruins of Symbar?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the first three, the Kickstarter is hopefully will help us fund the post-production of a player's guide, a game master's guide, and a bestiary, which is very much like the Symbaroum Monster Codex, except the monsters and addresses from the original core book will now be featured in the bestiary. More like how 5e players are used to having it, sorted between the books.
A great question from the guys over at the Effect podcast, which, by the way, is one of the best, if not the best, Swedish roleplay-focused podcasts in the English language. Question on Ruins. Do I need D&D core books to play, or will the rules all be in the books?
Yeah, you will need the core books. Yeah.
Sorry, you're going to have to put that thing on your shelf. Mine up here? I think mine has been... no, it's over here now. I moved it all around, so I've got the Player's Handbook here.
As I understand it, there is... Yeah, I mean, as you will come to realize when we talk about this a little bit more, I am not a 5e fan. I play 5e from time to time, but I am not very knowledgeable when it comes to the rule set. What I do know is what Jacob has done in terms of optional rules and stuff to tweak the rule set in a way which would better mirror the themes of Symbaroum.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, there is some core rules that you can basically... Can't you get it for free, like in PDF?
Yeah, you can. So the original, like the
I think so.
I've forgotten the term for it, but there's like an open license version, isn't there? OGL. So yeah, you could do that, or you could probably pick up the player's guide and the GM guide. Which, let's face it, realistically, most people who are going to be picking this up already have all of that. And
Yeah.
they know it like the back of their hand. And that's the point. The point is that there are people who just don't want to leave that system.
Yeah.
And it's for them.
And this is for them, and they are many.
Yeah.
It's not like
many.
They are at least more than a few.
There's
I would
at
say
least 7 of them, right?
Yeah, I think there's more than 7. I think so. No, but over the years, we've been not confronted by that. But that sounds harsh. But we have had lots of questions from, especially GMs from America and Britain, and even in Sweden, that says that I would love to run your game, but my players don't want to learn a new rule set.
Yeah, that's
and only since we announced the Kickstarter now, we have heard that like dozens of times from people commenting on social media that, wow, finally I will be able to get my group to play Symbaroum.
It's exactly that. I know many people who are going through exactly this and would love to run Symbaroum, and their players just said, no, we don't have the capacity, or we're not comfortable with learning something different, or we've played other games and we don't like those systems, regardless of what they are. And I think it's a real shame. As a GM primarily these days, I have the problem that actually I'm learning too many systems. I'm running 2 different campaigns at the moment. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm somewhere between I have been doing some proofreading for a friend for a sci-fi role-playing game, so that's in my head. There are a couple of other games I want to get to the table, so those are sort of in my head as well. I love learning new systems, but I do also have a limited capacity for it. So what makes me want to play a game is actually the narrative. That said, I'm not sure I'll ever run a D&D game. It doesn't interest me. So if this had been a D&D type game, a 5e game, I probably would have passed it up. Automatically, I disregard this on Kickstarter because it's not the system that I want to run, or it's a system I don't want to run.
But that's exactly the thing, because the system is... We talked about this before, I think, but it's worth repeating that while it is possible to design a setting that to some extent will pique the interest of virtually everyone playing role-playing games. At least, not hate it. What system you like to run, what mechanics you enjoy, that is much more divisive in terms of and to me it's almost always seems like it's like pop music or music in general. As you know, I still listen to the heavy metal, British heavy metal from the 80s.
Me too.
Or pop music from the 80s. What I enjoyed back then is what I still enjoy, and basically mechanics. I mean, there are curious people who are dead set on who has a passion for game design and rules and such, and they will probably botanize and try different things and evolve in their taste. But role-playing games is entertainment. It's a way to spend time together. It's a way to have fun together. And most people, well, they have fun the way they did when they were young, because that was the good times.
The music one's a really interesting one, because I remember, I grew up in the 80s, and I remember, my mother playing music from 20, 30 years ago, from the 60s, basically. And me thinking, God, how could anyone listen to music that's this old? This really shows how old my mother is. And here I am now, in my 40s, and I exclusively, with some exceptions, obviously, but yeah, I listen to music from the 90s and the 80s. And anything that came out, with very few exceptions, in the last 15 to 20 years just sounds like modern rubbish. So I get it now. You know, I'm the same age now that my mum was when, you know, back then, and I get it. I didn't get it. And I think that's the thing that comes, you know, when you get older, the appeal to nostalgia, I think, is really important for the things that helped you to develop who you were as a young teenager.
But I mean, the stories are not, if we will continue this line of reasoning, the stories are not necessarily subjected to the same kind of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Or not only nostalgia, it's also a question of you know, feeling comfortable and at ease with the rule set. So anyway, what Ruins of Symbaroum is a way for us to, it's a cover version of Symbaroum for those who like thrash metal. Or something like that.
Yeah,
and another kind of
pick up thrash metal for a second, and I thought, no, I can't.
No, maybe not.
At all. But maybe more for those that like easy listening, right? Easy listening.
Easy listening. Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, that can be argued as well. The 5e system, I would argue, is it is very good at what it does. Maybe the best version of that
product,
best iteration of that system ever. Again, I'm not super knowledgeable about 5e, but
I've played 5e a bunch. I've never run it. The only likelihood that I might run it is that there's another franchise from the 1980s which is coming over to 5e. And another company has acquired some Hasbro licenses, and one of those games that they're going to be making is Transformers. And, you know, I'm an 80s kid, so Transformers means the world to me. Most likely I'll just play that as a player. But for all the criticism that I have over many videos given to 5e and the other games, Dungeons and Dragons, etc., it's all in jest. It is a really good system. The fact that I choose not to play it is got nothing to do with that, really.
No, it's a question of taste.
It's really good, and it's crunchy. Can be crunchier, I think, than Symbaroum's original rule set. Symbaroum's rule set can be quite fiddly, and there's a lot to retain as a GM, because you have to understand, or you should understand the abilities that your NPCs have. But you can kind of skip a lot of that and just have fun. Whereas I think if you run 5e as written, it can get very crunchy indeed at times. The actual books themselves, I have a couple of questions coming in from that. First of all, Mr. Bishop says you should run a campaign where you mix up all the games in your head. This happens to me all the time anyway. I don't need any help with doing that on purpose, because all the time this happens. How will the books divide the info from the 4 core books of Symbaroum original? I do have a picture of the books that are going to be. So we have Player's Guide, the GM Guide, and the Bestiary. I presume the Bestiary is going to be effectively a rewrite of the Monster Codex.
Plus the creatures from the core book. Yeah.
GM Guide is going to be something to like a mixture of the GM rules from the core book plus stuff from the Game Master's Guide, I presume?
You know what? This is the first time we speak about the 5e project. And especially in this stream. I don't know exactly how much I should tell you now. But what we have, what we do have revealed is that we will present a lot of new classes, origins that are, I mean, new classes. You will have the warrior class, but it will not be the same as in other 5e games, because you will have other kinds of approaches or subclasses that are tied to the Symbaroum setting, naturally. I can also tell you today that we will have a class that is called 5e.
Wow.
That is called 5e. No, sorry, but my mother is calling on the phone, so
she's excited that you're on the internet.
Whoa. Anyway, she will have to wait.
Just
strange that she yeah. Why isn't she watching the stream? Mom.
Yeah. I would say, Mrs. Johnsson, if you're watching, and also anyone else, if you're enjoying this stream, then please do subscribe below.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyway, we have a new class that's called Captain, and as I understand it, it's a class that basically has features that makes not only the character itself better, but the group as a whole. So it's like, in Symbaroum you have the abilities tactician or leader, or there are other abilities as well that affect the especially combat oriented, of course, things. But it can also contribute to training. It can affect the rests of the entire group. The rest mechanic is totally new. We are suggesting people run what kind of rest mechanic they want, of course, as always. But the one we are introducing is a lot more damaging.
Can we have a fika mechanic instead?
We can have a fika mechanic.
Yeah.
You can.
Everyone stops for coffee and a cake, and you gain X hit points.
Yeah, that's or hit dice. I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, you will have to check the ruins of Symbaroum.
Yeah. So I think we should probably not reveal any more. The Kickstarter is on the 13th of April.
Yeah, it's less than 2 weeks away, and it will give a good description of all 3 books. And of course, we will have cool stretch goals to unlock both PDFs and physical stuff.
Yeah.
And also, there are things that we have so far not introduced in the, ultimately, when making a book, the final step of the design is always about cutting things out. Always. Yeah. But in this case, we have some stuff that we feel reluctant to cut. So if the Kickstarter goes very well, so there's always the cost in printing and the actual finished design takes always of an element. The finished design of an element takes about as long time as developing the concept, even if it looks like you have 2% fine tuning left. It still takes 50% of the entire production or design phase. Yeah. So no, we are really looking forward to this Kickstarter. It will be very interesting. It's kind of hard to from outside reach the 5e community.
Yeah.
Because as Free League, we don't have a very good tie-in to those players.
They've no reason to look at your franchise, and I think the one.
Well, they do, but they don't know that they have.
Yeah, exactly. But up until fairly recently, they've not known that there's a good reason to look at Free League's properties. This is a really good introduction, and obviously taking on the One Ring as well, to the whole organization, really, to improve the footprint of your target audience. It's strategically, it's really good. I presume that you'll be putting, and you don't have to answer this, you'll be putting the Promised Land into the Game Master's Guide. I'm hoping that you will. It's a great adventure, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I think that's probably a good place to stop talking about Ruins of Symbaroum. I'm going to play the trailer, the teaser trailer, one more time to kind of punctuate the end of this section, if you like. I think that would be quite fun, and then we can talk about the other exciting thing. Mr. Johnsson Haake, so I have a question for you. There's a starter scenario which is in the core rulebook of Symbaroum and potentially in also the Game Master's Guide. It's also this scenario that's in the free kind of 5e trial, if you like, called The Promised Land. If you, as Mattias, was coming to this scenario for the first time as a player, do you have any idea what kind of character you would have? Maybe an archetype, a background, a race?
We are talking original Symbaroum now?
They are going to enjoy Throne of Thorns.
Ah, okay.
So they'll probably die pretty early on, but... You know.
No, I would most likely... I favor the ranger kind of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I most always play human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to... the first character I ever made for a role-playing game was a Minotaur.
Wow.
Yeah, because they were really, really strong. I
you
thought
know,
that
the
was
first
cool.
scenario that I ever created for Symbaroum, which is on somewhere in the back of the archives of the Effect Podcasts videos on YouTube, the big bad guy was effectively a Minotaur.
Oh,
this is something called Dread Letter Days, and the conceit of that story was that a group in northwestern Umbria, there's a town where they have a lumber mill, and the lumber mill is beginning to suffer with problems, and so the management decides that the kind of middle management of this company are going to have a team building day, and so they hire like an events organizer to take them into the edge of Bright Davokar, the forest, for a team building exercises. And it gets it's one of those scenarios where it starts off super light and enjoyable and then just plummets into chaos and despair because there's, curses.
Yeah, going on a team building trip into Davokar is maybe not the best idea to begin with.
It was fine. Almost people survived. But yeah, so you would maybe build a ranger.
Yeah, I would probably build a ranger with a longbow and yeah, that's my go-to character, I think.
That's really cool. And I think I remember you telling me once that you have a 5e character also that is a ranger or a hunter of some description.
Yeah, I do.
And yeah,
that's
they're
true.
great fun to play. So in The Promised Land, which I don't think is a huge spoiler to say that it's the adventure at the beginning of the adventure that starts the Throne of Thorns in the core rulebook.
Yeah.
It's the first of 3 adventures that embraces a sort of mini campaign of the Copper Crown. The second and the third of those, the Mark of the Beast and the Tomb of Dying Dreams, are amazing, by the way. Mark of the Beast is probably one of my favourite scenarios that I've run outside of the campaign Throne of Thorns for Symbaroum, and possibly one of my favourite scenarios, full stop. Those 2 books, or those 2 stories rather, they are really hard to find. I have the paperback of the Copper Crown. Here, in fact. This was not easy, nor was it that cheap. But I did luck out. It wasn't overly expensive. But I've seen people selling this in English for almost £100.
Oh.
Yeah. So, now's a good time to sell your copy, Mattias.
I have a couple of them lying around. Yeah.
But there is this, which was a Kickstarter exclusive to an extent, wasn't it? There was one print run.
No, it was a limited print.
Limited print.
So, and that is true also for Adventure Pack 2 at least. I don't remember Adventure Pack 3, but yeah, that one.
Which is much more difficult to find, actually.
Yeah, what a limited print means is that we only printed both the Copper Crown and that Adventure Pack 2 one time.
Yeah.
Meaning, and I'm not saying that I fully understand why this is important to some people, but to some people it really is to know that I got a copy of this print that will never be reprinted.
Yeah, and it is important to a lot of people, you're right.
Yeah. However, we have now reprinted them together and added Adventure Pack 3 as well to the Symbaroum Adventure Collection. So, and I said we will. So,
yes.
Together with Alberetor, the Haunted Waste, we will see a reprint of these stories.
It's really, really good idea. The beginning of the Promised Land actually starts somewhere close to, and I've not read Alberetor, The Haunted Waste, so this is some guesswork, somewhere close to where the narrative of that book will take you. So with that in mind, and with your character that you've just mentioned, your hunter, your ranger, I wondered if you might partake in a little bit of a 2-minute storytelling session for me. Your character, whose name has not yet been determined, has been traveling for some time, and eventually hungry, tired, thirsty, scared, you see in the distance the campsite. After 2-3 hours, eventually you manage to set foot there, and it's very welcoming. There's several campfires around with seating. It's like a little village. There are children playing, and it's coming up to early evening, late afternoon, probably. The chill is beginning to return to the air for the evening, but there is a campfire. There is a small, obviously, because you're probably over 6 foot tall, goblin at the campfire. He looks up at you and says, "You've been travelling for a while by the looks of things. Would you like some hovel? Would you like some stew?"
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So
can I sit here?
Yeah. Here. And he passes you some beautiful, delicious goblin delicacy of drink, which probably is.
Is it humble?
Palatable. Yes,
it is.
Possibly almost palatable because you're so thirsty.
Yeah, I'm taking a sip from it, but I mean, just an hour ago or so, I passed by a clear and what I believe to be a healthy wellspring. So I'm not very, very thirsty. However, I am quite sore after walking for almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks, wow. So
yeah.
He asks you, he passes you also some stew, and it's surprisingly flavorful. Nothing really you've eaten has had much body or flavor to it for a while, has it? So this actually tastes like the meat has some meat to it, and the vegetation has some bulk.
Is it rodent?
No, you don't think it is. It's certainly
Maybe bird.
yeah, it's some kind of poultry, and the chunks of meat on this, not literally but figuratively, feel almost larger than any animal that you've seen for quite some time, because everything you've
Yeah.
seen on the side of the road has been really shriveled, maybe alive, but certainly you're not even sure how it's been standing. And he says to you, "So, have you? What have you seen? Where are you going? Alberetor is not what it was. This is
No.
this is what, year 21, I guess.
Yeah. No. Well, it is dying. Surely. I come from the west, the western part of Alberetor, and there is still life, but I mean, it took me 2 weeks traveling here. It should have taken maybe 5 days from where I was, but I have covered a lot in. No, it's traveling today in Alberetor is much about hiding.
Why's that? I mean, I live up other side of the mountains, and I've heard some rumors, but why'd you hide? I mean, it's dead, isn't it?
Well, those things that aren't dead, they are not what they once were. They have been twisted, and
the chickens.
they are chickens. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah.
Then maybe
Hang on,
shut
I've got to
up.
get my sister.
I don't care what you do.
A bunch of, I mean, goblins have no social standing for humans, and he just gathers a few of his friends around from the caravan, and they sit down, and their smile begins to drop as you tell the tale of other.
No, well, the first of all, trying to stay alive is a challenge, because those things that still live, they may be infected. They can be infected by toxins or by corruption, or they may make you sick. So if you don't know what you are doing, if you aren't careful, you will die just from eating or drinking. Then there are the hordes, the remnants of the enemy hordes of undead. And
that's
they,
the ones that were fighting in the big war, right?
Or on one of the sides, on either side. Many of the hordes are made up of raving undead wearing our native armor and weapons. I think they seem to be confused. Many of them are still fighting the war, and they don't really remember who the enemy is. Then there are creatures that have gone mad from, I don't know, hunger, corruption, death magic, whatever. There are people also, but you can't really trust anyone. There are reasons why they haven't. I mean, I'm heading up north because I've heard of this enormous, rich, living forest called Darvo something.
Oh, Davakar, up north past Inderos, and so you're going to have to go probably through Inderos first. It's like a passport control kind of thing, and then just up to the north and to the west, you've got Thistlehold. That's kind of fun. I like Thistlehold. got a place nearby in Karabadoc. It's quite nice. Thistlehold is right by the border, and then you've got the forest, and the forest is, well, it's got stuff. Lots of shiny
stuff.
Lots
But
of
living
shiny
stuff, right?
Living stuff. Treasure. If you like treasure, it's quite good.
Yeah, it would be nice to have.
It's quite safe there.
Safe. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
It sounds like
nice
you've
to
got
have
quite a
somewhere
low bar
safe.
to if from what you sound, it sounds like you've got quite a low bar as to what you cast as safe and cozy. And
there are some I guess scholars and priests and nobles and other humans held up down here further south still. Some who just refuse to leave their homes, some who stay in order to protect their, relics or whatever. But they are, some of them will give you shelter. Often you have to pay for it, and I've heard stories of people that have been, ambushed in the night by what they thought were a group of priests. So, yeah. I'm guessing it's not very different up north, but maybe something similar to what we did have before the war.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, the Queen Corinthia, she up sticks and moved quite a lot of people, so it's all right. Pays quite good.
Have the Black Rains reached this far north?
No, not really.
The night fog.
Night fog. I mean, it gets a bit foggy sometimes, but
Yeah, but not the kind of fog that eats you, right?
No, just the kind that makes the windows go a little bit smeary.
Well, I guess it will take a little bit of time before the darkness creeps this far north. It is worst in the southeast.
And that is foreshadowing, I think. As you relax, you're joined by there's an Ambrian who looks like he's wearing sun church robes. There's another that is wearing what looks like some kind of wizardly outfit. A strange, very tall. You think possibly woman as she sits down. She looked human as she approached, but as she sits, her features shift. She was a changeling, and a few other humans, another ranger like yourself, but dressed very differently. And you begin to discuss that in the morning you'll go and talk to Augusto, who's up in the big tent at the top of the camp, and see if you can arrange passage through the Titan range of mountains to somewhere maybe slightly safer for a year or 4. That was fun. So Alberetor is the next book.
Yeah, and this is the scene we played now. I can't say if my ranger actually knows what he's talking about, or if he's only going by rumors. But this is about 2 years ago in the game world, so stuff has happened since he left, we can't talk very much about the details. I think we shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree completely for various reasons. Which is why I think it's important to sort of establish what Alberetor was when your players, if they've done the Throne of Thorns campaign to this point, then some of this is what they, as characters, if they started in the Promised Land in Alberetor, might remember.
Yeah, but you also have in Adventure Pack 4, the one adventure that actually plays out in this area that we were just now visiting, the north part of Alberetor.
I've totally forgotten what that's called. It is. You'll beat me to it now.
It is written by Erik Hylander. Well, I think Erik is with us right now in the chat.
Is he?
Right?
Maybe.
At least he was. I think he posted one of the early questions.
I missed that. I should go find that. I've forgotten which adventure that was.
The first one.
Yeah, the Call of the Dark.
The Call of the Dark. Yeah. The other one is called Retribution.
Cliffs of Corinda.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is in this book, which is not included in the scenario collection because this came with Symbaroum, which was the previous.
Yeah, this one is not out of print, and I think it is. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's 112 pages, I think, or something like that.
I've just put it away, Mattias. Don't make.
No, so it's.
Yeah, it's about that.
Yeah,
the numbers stop at 103, so yeah.
It works very well as a standalone hardcover.
Yeah. Yeah, the pre-order itself. So this is the pre-order at the moment. It's at https://symbaroum.com, and it is important, I believe, still to make sure that you keep that S in there, the secure, unless that has been repaired by now. It is in pre-order now, and what you get for your money, depending on whether or not you've already invested in the franchise. So let's presume that you have. There is this bundle here. So there is the adventure collection, which has the two stories that follow on from the Promised Land, which is started with that little scene that we just did. You travel through the Titans, and then eventually you get to Thistlehold, and there are a couple of extra scenarios that close off the Copper Crown, and then 4 further scenarios make up the adventure collection. I love the artwork on that book, by the way. And then you have Alberetor, the Haunted Waste, which is the continuation of the Throne of Thorns, and some awesome maps. We like the awesome maps. Awesome maps are awesome. And then if you don't already have all the books, and you're starting out in Symbaroum for the first time, there is of course the Corinthia bundle, which has everything else pretty much that's still in print.
Yeah, it's the you can say the main game line, not the adventure packs, and there are some small items that are not featured in the Corinthia bundle, but I mean, it's for if a gaming group wants to delve deeply into Symbaroum, that's the perfect bundle, or a gaming club or a library. I don't know how it is in the rest of Europe or the world for that matter, but in Sweden the libraries carry role-playing games often. Okay.
We don't really seem to have. They exist, but they're not what they once were in the heyday of people actually reading
stuff.
Yeah. And even now, when I've got these books on the shelf, I have taken to more often reading from PDF, just because if you're reading somewhere like in an armchair or you're sitting up in bed reading, it's kind of awkward when you have a 400-page book that is US letter shape. I'm really excited by this book, and I know from insider knowledge that you are slightly proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, tastes differ, and there are probably folks out there who will not agree with me, but I think it's my best work to date.
It's better than the children's books, then.
They are a different kind of story.
I know.
The novels, you mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, this is. I think I just decided that I would leave this design process happy.
It's important.
when I started it. No, because I mean I never finish a design process without feeling content. But this time it feels like I am so super excited by the idea of playing this, and that is usually a very good sign. Then again, I mean,
of the players.
Yeah, kind of. No, but I mean, the cool thing with role-playing games is, just like with different systems, people like different kinds of, in terms of structure at least, different kinds of stories.
Yeah.
And when writing The Throne of Thorns, I try really hard to cater to many different tastes. So if I succeed, or rather if we succeed, because conceptually this is a team effort. It's me, Mattias Lilja, Martin Grip, and nowadays we also have the whole, free league team with Thomas and Christian and Costa and Nils. That spitball ideas and partake in the concept in the concept development. But in the end, it is very important to me that when 1,000 gaming groups have played through this campaign, each group will find their favorite part. So, and this one is Symbaroum Mother of Darkness is basically a giant adventure landscape where the game master has to be really sharp in responding to the initiatives of the players.
Yeah.
You have it's basically a sandbox.
You don't make these games easy, my friend.
No, but Alberetor then is more a little step back towards Indaros the Darkest Star. It's a more linear story. There will be, adventure landscapes where the players are very free to handle the challenges according to their, what kind of talents they have or what kind of morals they have or whatever. But it is more linear, and I usually call it semi-structured. So there is sort of a linearity to the story, but you can choose how you travel through it.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun. I've got a couple of images. I don't know which of these. So Symbaroum is co-created by yourself, Martin Grip, Mattias Lilja. And there is a kind of a presumption that Martin does all that beautiful artwork. Of course, we know there are other people who contribute. There's Johan Noor. I know there's another artist whose name I always forget that does some work. And then there's Gustav Ekelund as well. I don't know if any of these pictures are by Gustav or if they're from Martin, but I think it's good that we credit where credit's due. This first one is just breathtaking in terms of the weight of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, what you're seeing is an anonymous master of Ordo Magica with two novices, probably, that are traveling through Alberetor. And I won't go into exactly what the stage is here, but
it gives you some idea of how not friendly the place is. We have this one.
This one I won't comment at all, but it's super beautiful, isn't it?
It is incredible. And I think I have some idea of this in some regard, but we'll find out when I read the book. This is great.
This is actually, you can call it a rolling inn, run by the innkeeper Rolfo, who is this quite sad character that he can't make himself to leave Alberetor. Some say that he is still searching for his lost family. And he has, there are often 8 or 9 big wagons that travel the safer parts of Alberetor, and you can tag along with them if you like. And there are some very interesting permanent guests that tags along with Rolfo and his crew. So this is, you can meet them. The picture we are seeing, I am assuming that they are headed to the cliff of Corinda to buy supplies or maybe pick up new passengers. So these are the foothills of the Titans south of the mountains.
Oh yes,
that we are seeing.
In fact, I've only just processed in my brain that the upper portion of this is not just cloud, but you've got some foothills here, and you can see a structure in the center of the picture up there.
Yeah, and you can see also that on the mountain sides there are what looks like ripe grains growing.
Yep.
So there are still life, at least in the foothills.
But then at the very bottom of the picture, you have some rubble, some carnage as well. So a lot of the imagery, even when they look very simple, when you look closely, even in that simplicity, there is some complex storytelling. I really like this next one. I feel like I've visited here in games before.
Again, I will not comment very much on this, but I can tell you that this is an image from east of Alberetor. Let's put it like that.
Wow. One last one.
Yeah, there's a civil war, not only brewing but going on in Umbria, and this is the first big standoff or battle that is fought between the loyalists and the reformists.
So this is the big sort of, there's an ongoing, and it kind of starts, but you get the first inklings of it actually in the first book, Wrath of the Warden, that there is some conflict within the church, and
this is the conflict mainly between the church is a part of it, but the big conflict here is between Queen Corinthia and Duke Inedar, her brother's son, who is the Duke of New Beretor, seated in Ravenna, and he is supported by Sarvola and all these reformists in the church, and also by some nobles that don't really like Corinthia. And then on the other side, you have the Kohinoors, basically, and their supporters.
So I think
what you did see here was the battle at the winter dunes of Oralak. So the winter dunes is basically cotton fields, but they are not very white anymore.
And I think that sort of goes to again say that, we've said it before, that Symbaroum is not your average sort of combat-driven RPG for non-deep thinkers, I guess. There is so much politics, and you can play it that way. Obviously, you can just
you can. That's important, Phil.
Yeah.
It's important that if you want to do, Monster of the Week, you want to head out into the forest and loot ruins and kill monsters, you can do that in Symbaroum, and you will have fun doing it. But you can do other things as well. Let's put it like that. Yeah, and the Throne of Thorns
supports all of it.
Yeah.
We had one very quick question from someone I think we discussed earlier. Eric Hylander says,
"Hey, Eric.
Yeah, thank you for joining. What's been your main theme aimed at in the Haunted West?" So, I guess, did you have a design ethic, or was there like I hate to say this, like a mission statement that you had in the back of your mind for this is what I want to achieve with this chapter?
No, we are calling it a chronicle for a reason. A chronicle rather than a adventure campaign.
Yeah.
So it's basically the chronicle of the Throne of Thorns, but it's also the chronicle of the people of Alberetor.
Yeah.
It's the chronicle of the Queen, and one of the things that I hope we will achieve is that at the end we will not have one chronicle that is exactly the same, but we will have a myriad of different kinds of chronicles about Alberetor and the Queen Corinthia and the Throne of Thorns that also ends very differently. So it's a story of the main theme of the setting is the conflict between nature and civilization, as we talked about many times. In this case, the factions that arise from that main conflict are set in motion. So it is basically, it's a power struggle. It's a quest for, being right.
What is right, Mattias?
Yeah, that's the
point,
a very interesting struggle that's going on in that world, and maybe here as well. I don't know, but it's a question of being right and having the right to rule and having the right to define right and wrong and such. But it's definitely steeped in the form that is recognizable from the Symbaroum main theme, the conflict between civilization and nature. So you have these groups that are more or less representatives of Rasa and of Ratha and Virtha and Wilda, the sort of iconic principles of the barbarian way of understanding the world. And in the end, the question is that at each table, it will not be decided beforehand that the players are acting for any one of these, or they can be an actor by themselves. Maybe they should be the ones sitting on the Throne of Thorns.
Yeah.
Or they may decide that this abomination must be destroyed. Or, how it ends is not up to us. We will provide the tools for you to decide. Yeah.
So this is, I think I'm right in saying, and it may change, this is like the penultimate book in this chronicle. Yeah. You have one left. I'm not asking you to tell us anything about what's happening, but are you now thinking about what happens in the land of Ambria, in the world of Symbaroum after this chronicle then? Have you got in your brain the idea that maybe there would be another chronicle to follow on, not necessarily as a continuation, but as a fresh
after the Throne of Thorns? Yeah, we'll have to get back to that, because there are so many interesting ways to go, and we haven't.
There is a tell that Mattias has. It's the edge of his mouth kind of.
Sure, rubbish. I don't have a tell. It was just I just twitched.
Yeah,
it wasn't
That's
nothing.
all the caffeine, my friend. So yes, hopefully we'll see more. The point I'm getting at is, of course, that this chronicle has been amazing, and it's going to go somewhere really interesting, even darker. But hopefully that will not be the end of Symbaroum. However, I think it's the end of this fika.
Of the fika?
Yeah, my fika has almost run out. My coffee has run out.
I have a little bit of bulle kvar, but
I have quite a lot of my pastry left, because like when I GM, I always forget to eat and drink when I'm running a game. So again, as just was on the banner below, if you've really enjoyed this show, and I hope you have, then please like, subscribe, follow, all that sort of stuff. If you want to pre-order the Alberetor book or the campaign, the adventure collection, then dive there. Make sure you get that S in there, the URL. Otherwise, it will take you to a landing page that unfortunately right now does not work. If you do, though, if you do end up there and you're going, hey, this hasn't worked, I'm at a free league page and there's an error, you can actually go into the store in the top, or the boutique if you're in the Swedish site, and you can still navigate there. It's just a bit fiddly. But it's not as pretty as the Symbaroum site. So go here. It's cool. Thank you, Mattias. It's been great. The 5e Ruins of Symbaroum is in a week and a half, April 13th. I presume that's going to be 3 o'clock CEST, because that's kind of the time you normally launch stuff. And yeah, it is Easter, so time for spending the weekend, I presume, with family, having some food and drink and enjoying your time. And I guess also proofreading and editing and creating and dealing with all the other things that you have been working on behind the scenes.
The work never ends.
By choice.
By choice.
It has been wonderful, as always. Thank you, everyone who has joined us today. And we will catch you soon. So until then, thank you, Mattias. Again, thank you, everyone who's watched. And as always, I hope your dice rolls are way, way, way better than mine. Thank you. Wrong one.